There was a man who came here of the O'Donnells, and he was a bad man. A saint in heaven would be bothered finding any good in him. He come here to tame of the hunger. You should have seen things in them days. The roofs of the houses was all caved in. There was no singing or dancing like there is now. Them as died, they'd be left laying out there in the loanings with only the wild dogs to come and eat 'em. This O'Donnell, I'm telling ye, he was carried away by a fever that came with the hunger. My da was at his wake. They'd the corpse laid out, a candle at each end lit, and the men were sitting around drinking poteen. And then a feeling come over the men in that room. And one of them says, "Something here is not right." And another says, "There's something here as wants to get out." And another, "It's your man. He wants to go out into the dark night. For the love of God, would somebody open the door?" My door is closest. He gets up and he flings the door open, and that corpse, all blue and knotted in a white sheet, it gets up off the table and it walks out into the night. My da and the others, they follow, keeping a distance, saying their prayers to Almighty God. And the moon makes a path before it. It leaves no tracks behind it, and it goes down to the strand. It stands there in the shallow water and it calls out. It screeches, and all the creatures of the sea, the merrows, the fishes, the seals, they come up and they screech back at it. It laughs at them, and they laugh at it. It bends down like it's making a bow, and then it falls into the water. Well, the corpse was given a priest's burial, but that was not the end. My da says he's seen the wraith pass out of it. It was like a little black boy, he says, with long arms and fingers, tickling. It was laughing. The wraith passed into a great bull seal. You should have seen the likes of that seal. It was a terrifying creature, it was. There was a man of the O'Kanes who fired a blessed shilling at it, and it roared and reared up at him, and it struck him across the body. He had black marks on him like scars until he died. And at the change of the moon, it would turn into a man, like a great, tall, handsome man, and go stepping the roads. You would have been afeared if you'd seen the like, sir. It set its sights on a young girl of the O'Haras, young Nora. She was a sweet thing, she was. She had little ways about her that would turn the head of an old bachelor. Why he had to set his sights on her, I don't know, when there are plenty of other women in the village, but he did. And he was with her, and she was with child. In her time, she gave birth to a little seal boy. A very beautiful little thing he was, but the priest would not give him the sign or the water. He started to grow up. He was a sweet little thing. In time, Nora died, and he was left all alone in the world. He spent his time down there with the seals, down on the rocks. My da was coming home late one night from Carnmore, and he heard them singing together. The hair stood up on the back of his head, he said, and he ran all the way home. Whiles after that they stoned that little seal boy, whiles again they let him be, because he was such a sweet wee thing to be all alone in the world. Well, he grew up to become a seal man. Them that live in the water, they have ways of calling people. Them who passed this little seal man, they felt the call in their hearts. Indeed, if you, sir, passed the seal man stepping the roads, you'd get a queer twist from the way he looked at you. And he set his love on a young girl of the O'Keefe's, a little girl with no more in her than a flower on its stalk. You'd see them in the loanings, coming home in the evening, or in the bright of the day going. She would not be told that he was different. There was such a great love upon them two young things. It was like the love of the old ones that took 9 deaths to kill. They would be telling Kate it was not right, that she would love this one, that he wasn't like us. But there's few indeed as the young who listen. They're all for pleasure, all for pleasure. And at last, they shut her up at home to keep her away from him. One night, he come calling, down by the bend in the river there. He come calling to her. She put down her sewing, and she says, "Mother, There is no lock and no door. There is no key and no bolt. There is no iron nor no stone. There is no nothing at all that will keep me this night from the man I love. Somehow she got down there, down by the bend in the river where the flowers is all pretty. He takes her hands in his. He says to her, Kate, you are all of the beauty of the women of the world. Will you come with me where I go, over the waves of the sea? And she says to him, my treasure and my strength, I would follow you over the frozen hills, my feet bleeding. And they walked down then to the water, the two of them, she with her man who was not a man at all. She was drowned, of course, drowned. It was as if he did not know that she could not bear the water like himself. She was drowned, drowned. And in the morning, when the mist rose up, you could see him down there, down at the rocks, and you could hear him over the rush and suck of the waves. He was crying, he was beating her hands, her little face that had no more in it than a little flower on its stalk. He was crying and crying. And finally, he seemed to realise, and he picks her up, and he walks out, and he dives into the water holding her. He dives just like a seal, and he swims out, and his head is up high, and he's laughing and crying, and laughing and crying, and he's never seen more.